and social slime, they don't matter, genocide. Sick from water, sick from air, making money, they don't care. Caesar shit, force of air, fuck them back, it's only for they bomb. They shoot, they kill, they massacre, rape, they burn the kids. No one makes countries lie to your face, fight and die, 'cause God will give. Selling lies and buying time, killing people next in line. Lower class and social side, they don't matter, genocide. Sick from water, sick from air, making money, they don't care. See their shit, force of bear, fuck them back, that's only fair. They bomb, they shoot, they kill, they massacre, rape, they burn the kids. No one makes countries lie to your face, fight and die, 'cause God forgives. Yeah. Coming back around again.
Okay, welcome to the show. I'm your host, Ron Stevens. This is Game On right here on UCY.tv. It is April the 5th, I believe, of 2016. And I'm looking out my window. Spring, I think, happened on the 21st of March. But I look out my window and I see snow. And it's supposed to snow again tonight and tomorrow. So I want to thank David Suzuki and Al Gore and the United Nations and every level of government in this country and every other country around the globe who have played the part of the useful idiots on behalf of the globalists to keep trying to convince people that we're suffering from a bad case of global warming, which, of course, any sensible person knows we're not. But then there's not a lot of sensible people to be found in government. But then they're not really government, are they? Anyways, before I get going here, I want to really want to give a shout out to Alex Lambert for doing the show on Sunday. We had to go to my wife's aunt's 90th birthday, and I'm certainly glad we did. Both my wife and her aunt have the same first names, and it's kind of a rare name. And so it was very nice for them to hook up. And so we had a good time, and we got to see some people we haven't seen for a while. And left a little bit early and made it back home just as the snow started falling so heavy. Well, it was going to get difficult to see if we left any later. So we made it home. We had a good day. And I did listen to Alex's show Sunday night, and he did a good job. He had some very interesting things to say about the media. And, he's got to take my hat off to him. You got to stay with what you know is right, and after going through journalism school, he decided that he'd have to sell his soul to make a living at that, at least in the mainstream media. And so he decided he couldn't do it. So pretty proud of him for doing the show, and also for having the moral fiber to understand that some things are more important, and for sticking to his guns. So thank you, Alex, for doing that show. Now, I didn't know this, but apparently it was international or global or whatever they call it, Autism Day. Let me just dig that. World Autism Awareness Day. Now, I wasn't aware of that, but I just saw a video go by before I came on air of Sylvia Jones, who's a Conservative MPP in Ontario, standing up in the House rattling on about Autism Day and how the parents aren't getting enough support in that. Never mentioned vaccines or anything. Never mentioned why so many children are getting autism. We don't go there because they're just useful idiots. So this is how psychotic everything really is. I'm just going to go through this for a minute. World Autism Awareness Day. World Autism Awareness Day is an internationally recognized day on the 2nd of April every year, encouraging member states. Remember, your country is a member state of the United Nations, and your nation has signed a bunch of treaties and whatnot, which binds itself to the United Nations. In other words, to do the will of the United Nations, not the will of your nation, but the will of the United Nations. So your government is actually just a lapdog for the United Nations. And that's been going on for a very, very long time. So the member states, the United Nations, are encouraged to take measures to raise awareness about children with autism throughout the world. It was designated by the United Nations General Assembly Resolution 62/139, World Autism Awareness Day, passed in Council on November the 1st, 2007, and adopted on December 18th, 2007. It was proposed by United Nations representative for Qatar, Her Highness Sheikha Mosha Bint Nasser Al Masandi, consort of His Highness Sheikha Hamad bin Kahafi Al Thani, the Emir of the state of Qatar, and supported by all member states. Now, is that, who are these people? Pretty long names. And nobody I know I'm related to anyways. This resolution was passed and adopted without a vote in the UN General Assembly, mainly as a supplement to previous UN initiatives to improve human rights. Now, humans are animals, make no mistake about it, okay? And if you class yourself as a human, you have classed yourself as an animal. If you look up human being or in Wikipedia, there's a nice piece in there from the United Nations explaining that you came from somehow a spin-off of an ape, which of course we class as an animal. And so that's what you are, a animal. You're classed as chattel, and a resource, a human resource. Anyways, since its inception, autism awareness and research around the world has increased as a result. World Autism Day is also one of only 4 official health-specific UN days. The day itself brings individual autism organizations together all around the world to aid in things like research, diagnosis, treatment, and overall awareness for those with the disorder. Let me see here. The original resolution had 4 main components. The establishment of the 2nd day of April as World Autism Awareness Day, beginning in 2008. The invitation to member states and other relevant organizations to the UN or the international societal system, including non-government organizations and the private sector, create initiatives to raise public awareness of autism. Encourages member states to awareness of autism on all levels in society asked the UN Secretary General to deliver this message to member states and all other UN organizations. April the 2nd, 2008, the first Autism Awareness Day was highly mandated and hosted by the UN branches around the world. The highlighted events were held at the United Nations headquarters in New York. Okay, in New York. Which was the land was given for the building of the United Nations by the Rockefeller clan, and the Rockefeller clan is heavily into the depopulation agenda and that, and so all of this stuff ties together. The events hosted by the UN includes a panel discussion sponsored by Qatar and the UN representative responsible for the resolution, along with the World Health Organization and the NGO Autism Speaks. In addition, there was a briefing held for NGOs on topics relating to autism awareness. Both of these events focused on personal efforts for awareness raising and eliminating negative stigma associated with autism. In addition, there were highlights on the struggles of people with autism and the importance of better understanding the disorder. Autism Speaks is considered one of the largest non-governmental organizations in the field of efforts to raise awareness to autism, further research, and act as an advocate to those with the disorder. This group is considered by many to lead the field in science and advocacy and is leader in research dealing with causes, prevention, treatment, cures. They also act as a large support system for families of an autistic person. Light It Up Blue is one of the largest initiatives posed by Autism Speaks. It is observed on WAAD, I don't know what that is, and is a dedication to autism awareness. Then we have the Power of One, okay, which is the main focus of the UN propaganda. We are all one. We all live on one planet, and if we don't all do as one, then the world will end. So give up all your individualism. There's no room for any individuals. There is only room for one. And you will do as you're told, basically. The Power of One March is the National Autism Awareness March, and it is a unique nighttime march in Washington, D.C. on World Autism Awareness Day, which is April the 2nd, 2016. So I missed that march, but apparently it just happened. The march aims to unify the autism awareness community and provide a time of healing and peace around the globe. Attendees may choose which organization they want to march with for the proceeds of LED bracelet sales going to the organization of their choosing. In Ontario, that's where I'm parked at, Autism Ontario celebrates World Autism Awareness Day by raising a flag for autism. Municipalities around Ontario raise a flag to raise awareness for autism in their region. I didn't know that. But it's always a blue flag, eh? It's a blue flag. Let's see. In the United States, in a 2015 presidential proclamation, President Osama bin Laden Obama highlighted some of the initiatives that the U.S. government was taking to bring rights to those with autism and to bring awareness to the disorder. He highlighted things like the Affordable Care Act, which prohibits health insurance companies from denying coverage based on a pre-existing condition such as autism. He also pointed out to the recent Autism Cares Act of 2014, which provides higher-level training for those serving citizens that would be a subject or a slave of the corporation. So you don't want to be a citizen on the autism spectrum. Now, see also, we have Awareness Day, we have Autism Friendly, we have Autism Sunday, Light It Up Blue, United Nations International Day of Persons with Disabilities, and Autistic Pride Day. This kind of throws me. Autistic Pride Day and the Spies for Freedom initiative is a celebration of the neurodiversity of people on the autism spectrum on June 18th each year. Autistic Pride recognizes the innate potential in all people, including those on the autism spectrum. Let's see, June 18th every year, organizations around the world celebrate Autistic Pride Day with events from around the world to persuade the neuropathicable people not on the autism spectrum that autistic people are unique individuals who should not be seen as cases for treatment. Autistic Pride Day was first celebrated in 2005 by Aspires for Freedom, and it quickly became a global event, which is still celebrated widely online. AFF modeled the celebration on the gay pride movement, according to Cabby Brook, the co-founder of autism rights group Highland, or ARG. The most important thing to note about the day is that it is an autistic community event. It originated from and is still led by autistic people ourselves. It is not a day for other charities or organizations to promote themselves or stifle autistic people. The rainbow infinity symbol is used as the symbol of this day, representing diversity with infinite variations and infinite possibilities. Autistic Pride asserts that autistic people have a unique set of characteristics that provide them many rewards and challenges. Although autism is an expression of neurodiversity, some people promoting autistic pride believe that some of the difficulties they experience are as a result of societal issues. For instance, according to Garth Nelson, campaigns to gain funding for autism-related organizations promote feelings of pity. Research on autistic activities have contributed to a shift in attitudes away from the notion that autism is a deviation from the norm that must be treated or cured, and towards the view that autism is a difference rather than a disability. New Scientist magazine released an article entitled Autistic and Proud on the first Autistic Pride Day that discussed the idea. Now, that really ticks me off, right? This really ticks me off. All of these kids that are being born autistic or become autistic shortly after a shot, they're not disabled, okay, apparently. They are, it's a difference rather than disability. This is the kind of crap that comes out of the UN and their NGOs and that, right? You know, pedophilia is normal. Transgendered bathrooms are normal. Autistic children aren't disabled. They're just different. Okay? All they're doing is messing everything up. And they have all these NGOs out there getting paid to promote this nonsense from places like the Rockefeller. There's so many foundations out there now pumping money into this propaganda nonsense. So you pick any subject, and you're going to find them pumping away at it. So I just didn't know what Autistic Pride Day was, and that's apparently what it is. Light It Up Blue, annually observed on April 2nd. Okay, that's Light It Up Blue. And iconic landmarks around the globe, including the Empire State Building in New York and the Willis Tower in Chicago, along with the CN Tower in Toronto, as well as airports, bridges, museums, concert halls, restaurants, hospitals, and retail stores are among more than 100 structures in over 16 U.S. cities and 9 countries around the world, lit up in bright blue on the evening of April the 1st, 2010, the first night of Autism Awareness Month in the United States and the eve of World Autism Day. Okay, so they make a big deal out of this. The problem is the very ones that are, and I'm talking about the WHO, the World Health Organization, and all of the people that those evil people are connected to, are the ones that are specifically causing autism. Now, it might be coming from, the foods, but when you're pumping, I've heard the most, I'm going to have to look this up one day, but I've heard the most ridiculous numbers. I've heard like 40 some vaccinations. I've heard like 60 some vaccinations being pumped into a little kid. And then I don't know, how many shots in what combination would cause autism and that. But if you're shooting as junk, and that's all you can do is call it junk, because you're born with an immune system. Okay, you're born with an immune system. You're supposed to get childhood diseases. You're supposed to get the measles and the mumps and the chicken pox and all that kind of stuff. Why? It strengthens your immune system. That's the whole point of childhood diseases. It's the whole point of eating a mud pie. Okay? Is to strengthen your immune system. But here they are shooting all this junk into these kids, and I mean really little kids. I mean, kids are getting shots right after they're born. And it just continues on. And a certain percentage of them get screwed over and screwed up. So then they come out, and they come out with this Autism Day, where we can all, it's like Cancer Day. Run for the cure. Run for the cure. Like a bunch of idiots. Run for the cure. Don't find out what's causing it. Just run for the cure. Come on out for Autism Day. Show your support as we continue to whack your children full of junk until a certain percentage of them are done like dinner the rest of their lives. But then they're not disabled. They're just those with a difference. And I suppose that's the same line they use for these transgendered washrooms and that. Do you feel different today? Use whatever washroom you want. What kind of chaos? And it's all about causing chaos. It's all about causing stress. It's all about messing these kids up. So they don't know who they are, what they are, when they grow up. It's really quite pathetic. But this is what we got. So that's a World Autism Day. And if you go back, I have a bit of information on the WHO, just like every other organization that's connected to the main organizations, plus anybody that's running a UN NGO, is psychotic and evil. No other way to describe it. But the WHO, this happened way back whenever the H1N1 here's a story. WHO memos 1972, for crying out loud, explains how to turn vaccines into a means of killing. Now, I haven't seen this for a long time, but 1972 is also the year that the movie Survival Spaceship Earth came out, starring David Rockefeller, Margaret Mead, Barbara Ward, Morris Strong, and narrated by Hugh Downs, and oh yeah, now it's good. Now my computer's hung. Not good. Let's see if it'll straighten up its act here. It doesn't appear to be. Oh, here we go, maybe. Come on, baby. Oh, here we go. This is 1972, and the two key memorandums from WHO discovered by Patrick Jordan prove who WHO has intentionally created the 3-shot killer vaccine that people in the U.S. and other countries could soon be forced to take. Now, that's the point of all these vaccines, okay? The more vaccines you give somebody, the less chance there is of tracking down, because it's all mixing in your system. And these people are definitely psychopaths. But that movie, made in 1972, Survival of Spaceship Earth, is about what? Depopulation. Okay? And the first one talking in that, and they're all put down as actors, which they are actors, is David Rockefeller talking about the exponential growth of humanity, which can't be allowed to continue. So the vaccines are not about strengthening the immune systems, because they're always about the opposite. Everything these people do is opposite to what they try to get you to believe they're up to. So anyways, there's that, which some people may find interesting. And then there's which took place during the WHO outbreak. I don't remember when that was. That was a while ago. And our head of medical from Ontario, Canada, was over at the WHO. And there's some pretty interesting stuff in that. And they're complimenting each other on how great of a deal they're getting out of the vaccines. And they even go as far as to say that, let's see if I can find this here. They even go out of their way to explain that if they don't have a pandemic soon, they're concerned that people may not wish to take the vaccine so much. So they have a plan. So it was only like 2 years. It was only 2 years after this. This was in when do I do this? 2009. I put this up, but the story from the WHO, I think, is 2 years prior to that. And where did UCY? And so there's the lead up to the H1N1 flu hoax, and here's Arlene King, head of our Ontario Health, over at the WHO, and they're discussing what they need to do to increase the acceptance by people of the vaccine programs. And there's a lot of money in it. Okay, but the people that set up the United Nations are, one of their foremost objectives is depopulation. So now you have your presidents and your prime ministers and your state senators right down to the local level flying, autism flags and this and that, and having autism parades and autism pride parades, and these people aren't disabled. They have a difference. They are disabled. You screwed them up. That's disabled. That's not difference. That's disabled, plain and simple. So, this whole vaccine thing is designed for a purpose. And then they turn around, the psychopaths they are, the ones causing the harm, turn around and celebrate all the good things they're doing to help those autistic people. It's really quite sick. But then the UN is a satanic, psychopathic, sociopathic bunch of criminals that need to be run out of our countries. And it's unfortunate that so many people Let's see, where did I get to here? I screwed this up. I'm looking for this because I want to go back here and find out, where is it I'm looking for here? I want to know what this societal system is. Invitation of member states and other relevant organizations to the UN or the international societal system. This is a system I've never really heard of before. Talcott Parsons was the first to formulate a systematic theory of social systems, which he did as a part of his AGIL paradigm. He defined a social system as only a segment or a subsystem of what he called action theory. J. Wright Forrester described 3 counterintuitive behaviors as important causes from symptoms are often far removed in time and space, identifying leverage points. So it's just we have system psychology in that. So this really doesn't, this comes up with, it doesn't come up with societal system. When you hit it, actually comes up with social system. But it's another situation of using propaganda and psychology and media and education to change people's ideas is basically what it's about. And we see way too much of that. And so we got to stop these clowns somehow. We really, truly do, because they are what they are, and they are most definitely psychopaths. That you can't get around. And, I don't even know why people are jacked up over Trump and that down in the States, and, why I would be just so happy to see no votes. To vote for any of these clowns is to encourage the continuation of what we've been putting up with for way too long. Way too long. There's another thing that's kind of bothering me a little bit. I was thinking about this today, and that is that we're all illiterate, and we should all be suing our education boards. We should all be suing our state governments. And we should all be suing our local school boards. We should be actually suing our schools. Whatever school you went to, go lay a lawsuit on it. Because we were left illiterate. And I was thinking about this today because the bank came after our home. And it's been a very long, nasty, ugly, stressful ride. And you can't negotiate with these people because once it gets into the lawyer's hands, the lawyers won't recognize you. Okay? So you have to go get a lawyer. And that costs money. So I'm pleased to say we did manage to hang on to the house. Everything got put to bed tonight. I got a call just before 5 o'clock tonight that the bank's been paid out, and we've got the house. We're got a lot more debt than we had before we got into this, but we still got the house. And what could have been solved very easily in this, when this began quite some time ago, I just called the head office and said, why don't I just come down there and you get your people together and I'll come down and we'll just sit down and have a cup of coffee, and I'm sure we can come to an arrangement that's palatable for both sides. Well, they won't do that. I'm not a lawyer. And so we got run to the wall pretty hard, and it was before I got that phone call at 5 o'clock. I tell you how close we were to the wall. Before I got that call at 5 o'clock tonight, I didn't know whether tomorrow we were going to get run out or we were going to have a house, and we got settled out. But it's been ugly. So I got thinking about this, all I've been through, me and my wife, and she's been a rock. I started thinking about it. Now I gotta take my hat off to my lawyer. Now he used to. He's the only real estate lawyer I've ever used. He's been here for, I don't know how long he's been in business, probably kicking 40 years. Nice guy. Haven't had him for a while, but he's not a real aggressive guy. And the lawyers in the bank were extraordinarily aggressive. And so we, I didn't know where we were going here with that thing. And he took it on. And he'd done work. Well, like when I had our construction company, we were buying and selling lots and stuff like that. So we know each other, but I haven't had anything to do with him for the better part of 15 years. So I wasn't sure if he was up for this or not, but we kept hitting the snags. We think we'd have everything together, and then a new snag had come up, and we got to scramble again. And but what I found about this is I could have solved all these problems a long time ago, except none of these clowns will talk to me, right? They'll only talk to a lawyer. When I go to call them up, they're yelling and screaming and carrying on like a bunch of banshees. My lawyer calls them up. They're very congenial. So I got thinking about that today, and I thought, we ought to be suing our educators. We ought to be suing our provinces and states and federal governments because we are all illiterate. Now, I just wrote a little bit of stuff here. It's not much, but just a thought I had today, and that is we are illiterate. Even though and specifically because we were educated in the public school system. Now, the population of Ontario, according to this, in 2015, the population of Ontario was 13,792,052 people. Now, Canada is a bilingual country, therefore Ontario is a bilingual province, and we have two official languages, English and French. Both are taught in the public schools. But there is a third language, and it is the most important language, and it is not taught in our public schools, and that language is known as Legalese. Legalese is a language that lay readers cannot readily comprehend and is by far the most important language. Yet only 38,348 people out of 13,792,000 people are actively literate in Legalese in Ontario. Now, Legalese is the language of the government and the corporations. Well, this leaves the rest of the population illiterate, and therefore at the mercy of the literate who can and do take advantage of the illiterate. History shows the majority of the population has been taken advantage of both in the past and present. How is it that the most important language is not taught in the public schools? Well, the answer to that is rather obvious, isn't it? The Law Society of Upper Canada is the largest law society in Canada with almost 50,000 lawyer licenses or licensees. Let's see, with 24,417 in private practice and another 14,000 otherwise employed in education, government, etc. Then there's another 10,000 not employed because they're retired or outside of Ontario. So that only leaves us 38,348 lawyers out of almost 14 million people. And they are the only ones that are literate in the language that is used to basically take advantage of the rest of us. You can't do anything without a lawyer because they don't want you doing anything without a lawyer because it's an in-house game. Every rule, regulation, statute, act that is passed is written by lawyers. Usually for the benefit of the so-called government or some corporate body that they're cozied up to. To do what? Take advantage of the illiterate. To stick their hands in the pockets of the illiterate through government legislation in order to pick your pocket. To come up with a new reason that you need a license. A new reason that you got to pay fees. Now, both the government is a corporation. So the corporation called the government is in bed with the corporations, the insurance companies, the banks, and so on and so forth, the food industries. And they work together to take advantage of us who are the illiterate. And they've put us in a pretty poor position because they say they write the law, but we're not literate to it. And even if you do go to a court, you know, the one who represents himself is a fool for a lawyer. Okay, now even if you study their so-called law, which is just a corporate legal system, has nothing to do whatsoever with law, and you walk into their court, no matter how much you study it, they are going to dismiss what you say because you're not a professional licensed lawyer. And therefore, anything you say can't be taken seriously. So we got a really big problem on our hands and have had since the beginning of our so-called countries. We are run by lawyers. Most people in any cabinet or any high-level position in the so-called government is a lawyer. And I think it was Shakespeare said the first thing you do is kill all the damn lawyers. Because until you get rid of the lawyers, you can't get back to law. And law is really simple. No harm, no victim, no crime. But not a lot of money in that for these clowns. So they have taken exclusivity over the so-called law. Then they legislate in force of law because it's color. And who's going to put up with fictional law? So they legislate in these police forces and give them exclusivity in force. Now the legal system works real good. You can send the thugs out to drag you, the illiterate, into their theater where they rob you. It's really pretty sad. It's totally sad. So, you know, there's always something to be learned or something to be appreciative, I guess, when you go through a tough time, of which you just come through. Now we got to figure out how we're going to pay all this stuff, but we still got the house. And, you know, we have a real problem on our hands, and we've always had a real problem on our hands. Now, one of the things that started my problem was that I wanted to readjust the taxes because I didn't want to pay for child abuse. And that's going on in the schools. What I just described, the lack of teaching to make us literate so that we could function in this legal world, is a form of child abuse, along with many others. And that ended up getting dumped over at the bank. Now, we had worked it out, but then they reneged on that agreement, and they reneged on the next agreement. And then it started getting uglier by the minute. So, my lawyer did a phenomenal job. I cannot bark at him about that. But the fact is that I shouldn't have needed a lawyer. Okay? But they've given themselves exclusivity. And they use a language that leaves us in a bad position because we were never taught the language. To most people, the word real means real till you get into the legal system, and then real can mean any number of things other than real. Land to most people is what you got your feet standing on. But when you get over to the legal world, again, land can be any number of things, and most definitely not what you think it is, terra firma. So that puts everybody in society in a really disadvantaged position. And we should be able to go and sue our schools for letting us get through school and come out the other end illiterate. Because that's what we are. And because we're illiterate, we're easy to take advantage of in the so-called legal system. And they do take advantage of us every day. And once you find yourself in the system trying to defend yourself, you find that you don't know much. And even if you do study law, they won't recognize it because you're not a professional. Therefore, anything you say, you could stand there in a courtroom and say verbatim. You could have you and a lawyer standing there in a courtroom. And the lawyer and you could say the identical things in the identical fashion with the identical meanings, and they won't recognize what you say because you're not one of them. You're illiterate. You're a buffoon. You're an idiot. Even though you're saying the exact same thing, they won't recognize it. And this is a huge problem. Now, if you got lots of money, that's a different ballgame. If you're a big corporation, that's a different ballgame because you're part of the club. And you get that advantage. But for the common Joe out there, right? The society, the so-called society that we live in, was created simply to take advantage of us, to steal our labor from us, and use language that we can't really work with. And that needs to change. That really needs to change. How in the hell in a province of 14 million people can you have 38,000 people running the show? Using a language the rest of the people don't understand. You might as well drop me in Portugal and start yapping Portuguese at me. I ain't going to get it. I'm not going to understand what you're talking about. And that's what the legal profession has done. The lawyers, which are really liars because they change the meanings of the words to their advantage. And that has to change. That's one of the biggest things that has to change. We got to get back to law somehow. Did you harm someone? Nope. You got a victim? Nope. Then have a nice day. Carry on with your life. That's law. Illegal is a rat's nest. It's hell. It's garbage. It's theft. And I'm sure most of the people in jail don't even know why they're in jail. And if they want to target you, even if you have a good lawyer, you're going down. Because they have the opportunity to take advantage of you. So it's a very, very slippery slope, this legal nonsense. And anyways, what time we got here? 51. We got a few minutes. I am really boggled by the idea that people are going to vote. And this Panama Papers data here, just real quick. I've had people sending me links to this stuff like it's some kind of big deal. You know, it's like, woo, you know, the Panama paper data leak. What, you mean tell me the average person doesn't know it's been going on forever? The rich know how to hide their money. The rich got good lawyers. Okay? And that's what I'm saying. The lawyers got to go bye-bye. Now, I'm not talking, don't go shoot one. But they need to have their, their power greatly reduced. And they need to be held accountable. Okay, because it's the lawyers, it's the legalese that the lawyers write into these acts and that, and these statutes that harm people. And I've said it before when I had that conversation. I had a long conversation with a guy from the Law Society. It was fun. You know, if I can find it, the recording, I'll stick it up on YouTube or something someday. But you know, after we talked for a while, he was just astounded. He went like, holy crap, do you know what this means? Yeah, I do. All those people that were incarcerated, especially in the POA courts, the traffic courts and that, all those people that were fined, those weren't even lawyers. They weren't even judges sitting on the bench. They're ex-school teachers and janitors and shit. And they're playing judge, causing havoc with people's lives. But when I talked to the lawyer from the Law Society, but the Attorney General's office, he basically agreed, because he couldn't come up with anything, that everything that comes through the legislature is specifically designed to cause harm. To make something that was legal, illegal, or law, well, they make it what was lawful. Everything's lawful if you don't cause any harm, but then they switched over to this legal corporate system. And what is a corporation's job? Get your money. So everything they write in the legislature is to either stop you from working at what you want to work, or make you get a license and pay fees, fines. It's all just reaching in your pocket and taking your labor. And that's what it's all about. You see, because they don't do anything. They don't produce anything. So where are they going to get the labor from? The labor produces So they don't produce squat, so where are they going to get some money? From those who do produce. So they steal your labor. And they put your labor in their pocket and laugh about it. And that's really pathetic because we've been letting them get away with it. If these lawyers write this legalese into this legislature and that legislature is causing harm to people, then we got to start calling them on it. They have no right to tell you can't go fishing. They basically have no right to tell you anything. You can do whatever the hell you want if you didn't cause anybody harm. That's if we were in law. But we're not in law. We're in the corporate legal system. And the corporate legal system is always looking for a way to take your labor or your money, which is your labor. So they sit there and they come up with these stupid plans. Then the stupid plan goes through the legislature and they go, we now pronounce this law. Well, color of law, of which you wouldn't pay any attention to because we're just a bunch of idiots down here trying to figure out how to steal your money. But then we did legislate the force in here. So if you don't do what we want, and you don't give us the money we want, and you don't hand your labor over to us, well, then we'll send the force out. We will get what we want from you, one way or the other. And that's what we live in. And we got to get this changed somehow. Because it's detrimental to everybody that has to deal with it. Anyways, we're about out of time here. And again, I want to thank Alex very much for doing the show on Sunday. I really appreciate him jumping in here. He did a good job. I want to thank Jules for getting us all hooked up so that he could do the show and we could go off to my wife's aunt's 90th birthday. And it was a good birthday because she's one feisty 90-year-old, man, I'll tell you. She's not... and this is the other problem I see. When I was a kid, it wasn't, late 80s, 90s, 95, 97. People were generally in pretty good shape. But they weren't medicated to death. They weren't vaccinated to death. They weren't poisoned to death. They had their faculties. They were healthy. Look what we've done to the people. Look what we've allowed to be done to our people. We got to turn this around, folks. We have got to become responsible for each other. This idea that the government is responsible for, how's that working out for everybody? Not so good. So anyways, we're going to be back here Thursday night, and that'll give me a couple of days to come down off this rough, nasty legal ride we've been on for the last few months. And I want to thank the folks there was nights here I was so tore up that I didn't want to do a show. And some of the listeners would encourage me to keep going, right? Keep doing the show. So hats off to those folks as well. Anyways, take care. We'll be back here on Thursday night and see what's up then. All right? Everybody, be cool, be good, and, wish the snow out of my freaking yard, right? Okay, be good. We're out of here. Take care.
Fuck them back, it's only for they bomb, they shoot, they kill, they massacre, rape, they burn the kids. No one makes gun, trees, laugh to your face.